Michael here with Plant It All, and today I'm going to talk about a couple different products from the same company. They're kind of cousins to each other, but boy, could they not be more different. What I'm specifically talking about are foggers from Petra Tools. So these are both units that I've purchased with my own funds. This isn't sponsored in any way whatsoever by Petra Tools, but as usual, I'm just going to give you my straight opinion on it. These are my findings, my experiences with the tools, and you may have different results or different findings, but I want to give you a leg up if you're considering any of the tools in this kind of category. So specifically, we're talking about foggers. I've been working with both of these for a fair time now, and they definitely have their strengths, and they do have a couple weaknesses depending on your use case. I've been using the Petra Pro mini fogger for quite a while now, and I've just started using their backpack battery-powered fogger as well. So let's walk through these a little bit, and we'll get into using them. All right. First up, we have the Mini Fogger Pro. This is about as simple as it gets. It's a nice, compact, very handheld. I was surprised at how light this is. Even when you have the bottle full here, it's still a very manageable weight in the hand. We have our power button. This also cycles through your power levels. You'll see it light up there. And then you have your battery gauge, a master on-off switch, and a USB-C charging port. You have a set of UV LEDs on the front, which are really nice if you're fogging for mold or anything that's going to fluoresce a little bit. It also helps you see your laydown. So, handy little tool. Filling it, pretty darn simple. Take off your bottle here. Have your premixed nutrient or pesticide, fungicide, whatever you're using for the day. Fill her on up. And put it back on. The bottle does have graduations on it as well. I tend to mix what I'm using outside the bottle, then pour it in, but you totally could mix it right in the bottle there. And that's ready for use. Okay, coming in notably larger than the handheld mini fogger is the Petra Tools PT1030 battery-powered fogger. So there's a lot similar and a lot different. One, the handheld, 11 ounces of fluid. This is 2.6 gallons. So you're all set for a pretty substantial amount of fogging with this unit. It is battery powered, but we have a removable battery here. The charge port is actually a little donut plug there. They furnish a pretty good length extension cord here for sake of charging. But the replacement batteries for this are $80. And for a, there it is, 4 amp hour battery, 24 volt, $80 does seem a little bit steep to me. So it'll be interesting to see if anybody manufactures batteries that will fit for this. But it's held up really well. And frankly, 4 amp hours of a battery has not been an issue in terms of the volume I'm trying to dispense. So I have a hard time saying that's a con, but I would have liked to see, a secondary battery maybe at purchase available a little bit cheaper. If you've got a large orchard or even a medium-sized orchard, that might actually be an issue. But anyhow, there we are. It does come with a manual. Make sure you read it. There is a step I'm going to point out later that's very important to making sure this operates at peak. And make sure you charge the battery before you use it. There's a good chance that when it arrives to you, it's going to have a fairly charged battery. But just like anything that's rechargeable, power cycle the battery all the way up to a full charge first, maximize your life. All right, filling it up, pretty easy. Anybody that's used a lawnmower is going to be pretty familiar with a cap like this. Just pop it off. This is not a graduated cylinder, unlike the handheld, but to be real honest, you really should be pre-mixing. So, if you use gallon jugs like I do, just go ahead and fill her up or fill directly into it. But like I said, I do prefer working with a cylinder outside of my sprayer to measure and double check things before I fill it up. All right, let's give this a little bit of a test. First up, we're going to give a go with the Mini Pro. This is a section of my garden that got massively overgrown this season. Kids were helping me. We planted a little bit too close. And I have this melange of, let's see here. We have tomatoes that have completely taken over, and they're looking beautiful, but we're kind of on the backside of ripening, so we're trying to hurry these up. We've got some absolutely wonderful Hungarian wax peppers who've been growing, and running through our little bit of chicken wire here to keep out our area groundhog, we have cucamelons. Let me see if I can get one here. All right, if you've never grown cucamelons before, you should give it a go, especially if you garden with kids. They are here. That is a cucumber that looks like a melon. It's pretty much the most adorable fruit I've ever seen. And if you like cucumbers at all, these are fantastic. They're a little bit tart. They have that wonderful unctuous cucumbery taste. And they just grow everywhere. You train them up, they'll climb up your porch, they'll climb up a post, they'll climb across your chicken wire that a groundhog still managed to squish down. They're fantastic. But let's get back to the sprayer. So we have a master on and off switch. Switch it to on, press the button, and it's going to start spraying. Right now, it is on its highest setting, but you can cycle through low, medium, and high. Outside, high works best because you get about a 5-foot reach. Nice even spray. It's effective right out to where my arm is extended here, and you just kind of head through your plants. So I'm doing a leaf feed, a follicular feed. You just kind of get in there. It doesn't have a lot of force, so you're going to need to kind of nudge your plants aside, especially if you've let them overgrow the way I have in this case, and just get in there. And honestly, it's pretty easy. The only big drawback here is there's not a ton of force, so if you have any wind, this actually could be a bit of an issue. Here we're guarded by our fence in the back, and just work your way through, make sure you open up those dense areas so you're really getting in there. Now, if you're doing this for antifungal reasons, you'll notice the lights up here. A lot of fungus fluoresces slightly, so if it's an evening feed after your sun's pretty well down, or early morning, and this would probably be just barely dim enough, but it's not going to be soon, you will actually see trouble spots on leaves show up. When you're done, just turn her off. Turn off your power. If you have leftovers, rinse it out, put warm water in here, and then let the sprayer cycle a little bit to clear out the nozzle or any residue that might be in the straw. But that's pretty much it. All right, let's take a look at the backpack. Okay, so as you can imagine, this is a little bit more to get on. Got the backpack here. Nicely good big range on the straps. That's something I really appreciate as a larger human. And if you want it, there is a chest strap here as well, so you're not pulling your shoulders back the whole time. It helps you kind of keep better posture. Now, the handle. This is the entire operative section here. We have a power button and a flow nozzle control. You have one pressure setting, one very impressive blast of air that comes out of here. And the way you gain control is by limiting how much of whatever you've put in the backpack is flowing at any one time. Now, there is that one piece of instruction I told you was important in the manual. When you go to turn this on, make sure your valve is closed. When you go to turn it off, close it before you turn it off. Couple things here. Basically, you don't want to be limiting the moisture, the fluid that's coming through the line, because if you get an air bubble in that line, you could damage the pump, and you don't want to do that. All right, so valve closed, power on. You can hear it, it ain't quiet. And now let's open up the valve and spray. The reach of the spray full open is easily 20 feet. I think 20 feet is what they say the maximum is. It would not shock me if it's more. And there's a fair amount of force that comes out of this. Just like when we started, we're going to reverse the process. Turn off the nozzle, turn off the power, and you're all set. Now, I always go through, put a little bit of clean water in the backpack, give it a little spray again just to clear out the lines, and then make sure the battery's charged before my next use. All right, so there you have it. 2 tools, essentially the same tools, but boy, they couldn't be too much more different. I really, really love the handheld Pro Fogger. This, I have to say, probably serves 90% of my uses. Now, my gardens are relatively small to medium in size. I have a 10 by 20 greenhouse that I work within. I also have several outdoor gardens, and I have a handful of trees that I like keeping better attention to. So this doesn't always have the reach I need, and boy, there's absolutely no doubting whatsoever that the backpack fogger does. Now, a couple cautions. One, lots of precision control, because we have those 3 adjustable levels of spray, but you're going to have to get in there. If you have something as overgrown as this little patch here, you're going to get into the plants, really make sure that you get the coverage you need. But the upside is you have that control. So when you're using, say, a small grow tent, something as tiny as a 3x3, this is fantastic. It's not too forceful on your plants, and you get really, really great coverage. And having those LEDs on the front to help highlight where you might have mold, if that's what you're going after, is a big plus. Now, if you have medium to large size outdoor gardens and you really need to make sure your coverage is, one, relatively quick, but also really getting into all the places or up to all the heights you need, you're not going to do much better than the backpack fogger. It's a lot more setup. It is a fair bit more expense. We're talking about approximately $100, approximately $300, but the time savings here may be exactly what you're looking for, especially if you have those harder to reach spots. So this really comes down to right tool for the right thing. When I first got this, I fired it up in my 10 by 20 to fog down my plants. It was not a good choice. It was just way too much force, way too much of a breeze pushing against my plants, and so it was reducing how effective that coverage was, and if I'd kept at it, might have actually caused a little fatigue and damage because of how it was pushing around those plants in the contained space. And I think that's the key. The gentle nature of the fog from the Mini Pro is great for those contained spaces. This, not so much. Even a 10 by 20 greenhouse is a bit too small for that. If you have a bigger greenhouse, or you have plants growing with smaller leaf structures, it might actually be just fine there. Whereas in a bigger outdoor garden, lots of stuff you got to get into, the Mini Fogger will work, but you have to be pretty careful about making sure you get in everywhere you need to go. Where with the backpack fogger, you're going to get the coverage, you're going to get the distance, and you're going to save a bucket load of time. All right, well, I hope you found that really helpful. These are 2 solid tools depending on your use case, and as usual, I do have links below in the description. Anything down there I may earn a commission off of, and if you choose to use my links, I thank you. Those little bumps I get from commission sales definitely make a big difference in terms of running the channel. So be safe, have lots of fun, and make sure that you plant it all.